Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And welcome back to our first segment of the show this morning. We have with us Professor Emeritus Dr. Clement Sankat. He's the president of the University of Belize. We also have with us chairman of the UB board, Harrison Pilgrim. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Marlene. Good morning to all of you here. Morning to all our listeners.
All right, so we have several topics that we want to touch on this morning where it concerns the state of affairs at the University of Belize. Let's first get an understanding of what's happening insofar as the student body and how the fluid changes at UB are affecting students attending the tertiary institution. Dr. Sankat?
Yes, once more, and to all our listeners, and especially our faculty, staff, and our students, let me begin by saying what happened on the 20th of March of this year when we had to shut the university down. We were not prepared for this. I don't think any institution was. Probably no country was. So we shut down on the 20th of March, and we were hoping to be back on campus after the Easter in a normal way with respect to the academics or the academic delivery. Well, it hasn't turned out that way at all. But the good news is that we had to think very quickly on our feet at the University of Belize. We had to do the necessary consultations. We had to do the necessary preparedness. And I am pleased to say that with the tremendous response of our students and our faculty, staff and our administration, we were able to almost deliver all our academic programs online, leaving very few behind. And the semester has come to an end, thankfully. Some of our students will, of course, have met the requirements for graduation, which is going to be in October. I expect it will be online. And we also have students who will be returning on the 3rd of August for the new academic year. Now, the pandemic health restrictions are still there, social distancing, face masks, etc. Face masks are fine, but I've always said a university is about socializing, and it's about engaging people, faculty and students, staff and students to students. Learning occurs both within and outside of the classroom. We are making plans to reopen the university on the 3rd of August, but it may very well be, once more, like many, many universities regionally and globally, through an online modality. So with respect to the students, I want to commend them, as well as for the faculty, for being innovative and creative. And let me remind all that the university is about our students teaching and learning and delivering a service. And in that delivery, our faculty and staff are very important. Our students, as they have heard me say since I've been in Belize, are central to the university. Now, we also have a limited summer program ongoing. Limited because we were, and we still are, in a challenging environment. The university is in a phased reopening for face-to-face administration, etc. And once more, I am very grateful to what my staff and our students are going through. There has been a recent issue, and you've asked me to deal with student issues. There has been a recent issue, and I must address it. When we got wind in May from a communication from the Ministry of Education coming out of the Financial Secretary's office that the subventions of state subsidized organizations were going to be reduced. And let me say, from what I understood, significantly reduced. The university and its administration immediately spun into action. Now, we may have had a sense that this could be coming, but like anything else in this COVID pandemic, you don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow is another day. And while you can plan for tomorrow, and you must plan for tomorrow, the details of that planning can change. So from May, we have been looking at our income, our expenditure, our budgets. We have been engaging with the Chief Education Officer of the Ministry of Education. I have been steadily engaging with the board through our chairman, Mr. Harrison Pilgrim. And I think by extension, they have been engaging with our Honorable Minister of Education. The net result of these initial investigations is that, and I hope I'm at liberty to say this, the subvention cut that we expected at the beginning was ameliorated somewhat. But we were advised in no uncertain terms that the University of Belize must carry some of this burden that the entire Belizean economy is carrying. Now, that is something that I understand, and I hope all my faculty, staff, and I think we all understand that we have to share in this. So that the budget was cut from $11 million to 8.66. That is a 25% reduction in the subvention to the University of Belize, 2.66 million for the year. I think it is important for you to understand and for the public to understand that the University of Belize, the one that I inherited, did not have a balanced budget. It was spending more than it was receiving. And I'm very pleased to say that through our transformational plan, in which finances were put in there, that in 18-19, we turned the corner around and the budget was balanced, in fact, with a small surplus.
Yeah. Professor Sankat, if I could get a bit more clarity there, because I think the critical point is recognizing that just about every sector of society has been impacted economically by COVID-19. And I want to get the clear picture as to how the university has been impacted. Your latest release speaks of a $7 million shortfall, a projection. And you're saying the subvention accounts, or the reduction in the subvention accounts for about $2 million. Where are you seeing this shortfall coming from? Where does this projected $7 million come from?
Well, that's what I was explaining.
Okay.
The university is funded almost in equal proportions by the government of Belize and its subvention, and by the income from our students.
Yes.
In fact, in the last year, our students were contributing even more than 50%. And so where the 7.16 million comes from is that we are anticipating, as universities in the region and globally are projecting, that with this pandemic and the loss of income from students and parents and guardians and sponsors, those who give scholarships, that we will see a 25% reduction in our student numbers. And if and when that happens, that alone will result in a 3.5 million loss of income to the University of Belize. And let me say to you, Marlene, that is probably the scariest of things that we're facing. And in addition to that, the University of Belize took a decision that the anticipated income in tuition that was already approved by the Board of Trustees for 2021 will not be applied. So the tuition for 2021 will be frozen at 1920 rates. In addition to that, we have said that we will cut the fees that students pay by another 25%. Together, those three things are projected to cost $7.16 million. And that is where the number comes from.
Okay. So this 7 million projection that you're using already includes the reduction in fees as well as the continuation of the existing tuition rate.
Exactly. It's already factored into this. And we did it on our own volition, that our parents out there will not have to pay an increased tuition, that we are going to freeze it at the current level, because it was approved by the board.
So where does talk of an increase in tuition comes from? Because on one hand, you're saying that the UB has made certain allowances that at the end of it comes up to $7.16 million in terms of what it has done to benefit students given the situation. But then there's still talk of an increase in the cost of education at UB, so to speak. Where does that come from?
Well, let me say to you, my friends, I'm dealing with Belize. I don't know the environment very well. But the official releases are clear. On the 15th, I think it was on the 15th of June, we had a historic meeting with faculty, staff, and student government representatives. When I told them what is in front of us, and I indicated to them in no uncertain terms that the tuition will be frozen, and of course, the fees will be reduced by 25%. Yeah. The student government is aware of this. But you know, things come out there, as they say, you must not always believe what you read.
I believe there's also another recommendation on the table, and maybe you could provide some clarity there about reducing the upfront cost of attending the university. Instead of paying 40%, that you pay less than that.
I'm glad you raised that with me, because I tend to forget that. What has happened at UB is when students register, and they are going to register starting at the 3rd of August, they have to pay a certain money, a certain amount of their tuition and fees. Yeah. And I'll be very honest. As president, I have been relatively liberal with this, but it has created a great deal of hardship for the university, because you have what is called receivables. The finance had proposed that the students pay 40% come the 3rd of August to start. I have instructed the finance that they will pay 25%. Those who can pay more, of course, the university would love to have more because we have a cash flow issue. And that they will pay during the semester quarterly installments of 25%. That is 25 in August, 25 in September, 25 in October, and so on. And they eliminate their fees. So that is also a benefit to our students. These are difficult times. We appreciate. I'm a parent. I understand all of these things.
Let me ask another question, because you started earlier saying that the university is looking at the decision of going the route that many other colleges across the world are going to, which is just making the next semester online because there's too much uncertainty as to what's ahead. Doesn't this allow for a reduction in your expenses if you're doing online classes because you don't have students physically in the classroom?
Well, this is something that we are examining. This is something we are examining in terms of our budgetary income and expenditure. And so the answer to your question is, in terms of a response to the reduction of our income, we are planning to reduce the administrative side of university, all of those costs associated with running a university where you have a lot of students and face-to-face, people on the campus using supplies, electricity, we're planning to cut that by 25% because we feel we can save that amount of money. Of course, the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. So you're right.
Let me ask the question here then. How does all of this, what we're discussing in terms of the 25% cut across the board, how does this affect the faculty and staff? How does this affect students? How does this affect everybody in the grand scheme? Because we're looking at, one, the fact that the government has reduced its subvention to the university. We're looking at a shift to perhaps an online modality for learning. We're also looking at a reduction in overhead expenses, but people are at the heart of all of this. How are they being affected?
Well, as I said, I dealt with the students, and I think we have to restate that the students are at the center of the enterprise through our teaching and learning. It's a service that we provide. If we don't provide that service, then we do not need to exist. That is my philosophy, always has been. The students are at the center of this. So I've given you some expressions of thought already that our students will hopefully not be disadvantaged. There is going to be a new normal. It is likely to become online education with some face-to-face, and especially in programs where you have to have laboratories and internships and things like that, practicals. Those will continue. But much of it will be online modality. So I've given you that. Now, what about our faculty and our staff? The budget of the University of Belize comprises essentially of two parts. What we call PE, personal emoluments, or the PE HR budget, and the non-PE budget, right? We have said, we are proposing, and it's going to go to the board, it has not gone there yet, that we will cut our non-PE budget, as I said before, by 25%. But the PE budget is the largest share of the university's expenditure. It's the lion's share. 75% of our cash goes out to pay wages, salaries, gratuities, pensions, social security, health. In fact, the university pays every month $1.3 million in terms of wages and salaries to our employees. And our subvention has now been cut. What we will normally get per month is about 900,000, sorry, I wish it was 900 million, 900,000 per month. It may be Guyana dollars, sorry. 900,000 from the government every month. Well, that is going down to it has gone down to $600 a month from the government. So there is a reality here, not one that we have imposed. The university has not imposed this on itself. There's a reality that the PE budget that constitutes approximately 75% of our expenditure must also be reduced. Must be reduced if we are going to balance this equation.
And before we move any further into that, I do want to bring up the biggest issue on the table. We wanted to talk about the students because we know how much it impacts a wider population of our country. But we got to talk about what the faculty is saying. And in fact, there is a deadline of 11 o'clock today to get a response to the issues that they have put on the table. Professor Sankat, let's start with the primary issue here is looking at the proposed cuts that are being made. They're citing that, in fact, the consultation that should have been done with the faculty was not done. How do you respond to that?
Well, I would say I do not agree with that. Let me finish, please.
Sure.
As the CEO of this organization, when you feel that the boat is taking water, the captain must speak to his people. And we had a historic meeting at the University of Belize online where I spoke to every constituency, faculty, staff, and students, outlining to them the financial situation we face, including what I just told you, and in fact, appealing to them, and that was in the middle of June, to send me their comments or thoughts on how we can fill this 7.16 million gap. In fact, I did more than that. With my senior administrators, like good academics, we did a quick, rapid online survey of those 346 members who were there, and a vast majority of them responded to that questionnaire, giving some thoughts, granted it was quick, on where might be some of the areas that we could tackle to reduce costs. Further than that, I then met with the Academic Council of the University of Belize, which is the highest council of the university, just a day or 2 days after, included all our senior administrators and senior leaders, deans and chairs, and repeated what I said, and once more sought their inputs. And I'm very, very pleased to say I got several inputs then and several inputs since then in writing on how we can proceed. I then met the next day with the UBFSA. I met with the executives and once more shared with them the perspectives that I have shared on the financial crisis we face, and again asked them to send me their submissions on how we can address this matter. Look, I have been consulting with the board subcommittee in finance, the chairman is here. I have been consulting with the board. No decisions have been made. I have been consulting steadily, almost on a daily basis, with the heads of various institutions, with the deans, with the faculties, through their deans, the heads of maintenance, of security, of ODL, of the IT, you name it. This has been an ongoing exercise. Yeah. So as to inform the president of the thinking of my people. It's a people-centered institution, and people's lives matter for me.
Professor Sankat, what I want to do right now, there's a lot more we want to get into, and we only just started to scratch the surface. We'll take a very quick pause for a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation and dig a bit deeper into this issue. So please hang tight where you are, and for our viewers, stay tuned. We'll be back in a few.